Something like this. That's better. There we go. Hello, everybody. Hope everything is all right. And we are here for another Wednesday edition of the Shortwave Show. Yeah. Let me check out here. Voice of Vietnam, 7315, really strong. S9 plus 20 plus 30. And we are starting the show. So, Voice of Vietnam English, 7315. And let's check it out here. Everything's okay. So welcome everyone. This is the Wednesday edition of the Shortwave Radio Show. Hope you enjoy the shows that we do every week. So basically, this is of course a show about radio, and it's a show where we kind of, just enjoy our geek hobby of radio listening. It's always kind of cool. I mean, there's a lot of people that actually like this and like shortwave radio. Yes, still in 2019. Maybe you're going to watch this and you're somebody that was listening to shortwave long time ago and think, wow, people still do that in 2019? Well, yes, indeed they do. And they do amateur radio stuff, and a lot of things are going on. So welcome everyone. And of course, this is the Shortwave Radio Show. We are here twice a week. Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, or 0 UTC. Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, 20 UTC. And of course, we have a great Facebook group now that actually is a complement, is an extension of the live shows. And it's really a lot of fun. There's a lot of activity, people posting what they're listening to, the radios they use. We got radio cartoons. We've got all sorts of things happening on that channel. It's a really great group. It's a group that is respectful and is just enjoying the hobby and just having fun with the hobby, which is exactly what we want. So it's really, really cool to have that. And, I should have started that group probably a long time ago. But, it's really, really a lot of fun. And it's amazing people. So, when the show ends, when we are here and you have fun, and then it ends, and I always say how it's strange. It feels weird because it's like if I would be in a room with tons of people and suddenly I stop the stream and, people aren't there anymore. It's like I'm back on my own little solitary hobby. Well, you can now go to the Facebook group and enjoy and share and continue sharing throughout the clock, 24 hours a day, of what you're listening to. And of course, all of that in a very respectful way. People are great there, and people feel welcome, and people are happy to be there. So the Facebook group has the same name as this channel, Official SWL Channel. Official SWL Channel. And why not join? And, we are 287, something like that. Now, so it's really cool. We're getting close to that 300. I have a dream that we'd be reaching 300 by the weekend. I'd like that. I'd like to be happy to say, hey, we reached 300. So let's hope that you join in and have a lot of fun. If you've never been in a Facebook group, it's simply a page where you share your ideas, your pictures, your logs, whatever, of a certain subject. So that one is on radio. You can share about radio. And we have a lot of fun there. I, of course, also share a lot on the channel. every time that I on the group. Every time that I actually listen to the radio, I'll actually be sharing what I'm listening to and how strong it is, and sometimes answer questions or comment, or it's a lot of fun. So it's just making all of this more complete, where not just the live shows are something interesting to be and to watch, but the Facebook group is also the fun place to be. The shows, of course, my name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America. And this show is, of course, as an international audience. We got people from all over the world. You know what? I should really maintain a listing of all the countries we've had over time, of all the people around the world. I mean, it's a lot of fun to know that people from everywhere around the world are listening in. And now that we have two shows, the one on Wednesday at a different time than the one on Friday, we also get a certain audience that's different on Wednesday and on Friday. So, it's there to have that reason. The only thing missing, I guess, would maybe be a early morning show, something like at 15 UTC or 14 UTC or something. But we're going to hang on to the two shows we have right now. Also, we'll want to talk a little bit about the holiday, what's coming up on the holiday, because Christmas Eve and Christmas and New Year's Eve and New Year are Tuesday, Wednesday. That would mean that the Wednesday show for Christmas and for New Year will probably not happen. The reason why is simple. I will have two big parties, Christmas party and New Year's party to attend. So that'd be a little difficult to do these shows. But we will keep the Friday show. So we will be live on Friday in between New Year's and Christmas. So at least that's going to be there. So there's a beautiful chat room that you can join in. A chat room with wonderful people. And I hope that you can, chat away, ask questions, interact with me. Keep in mind, if you're watching and you ask me something, most of the times, I'm 15, 20 minutes behind, sometimes half an hour behind in the chat. I try to catch up as fast as I can, but sometimes, it takes a little while before I answer, but be assured that I will answer your question. So, in the chat room, hello there, Terry Cook. Nice to have you here. KF7BQ from Western Montana. Of the Dawn, nice to have you on board. Radioactive, nice to have you here from Central Oregon. W7WXV. Bobby Burgess from Morgan City, Louisiana. We have Jerry DX. Nice to have you here, my friend. Michael Langer. Nice to have you on board from Chicago. Northern Dawn. Nice to have you here. Bullfrog89, KD2CXU from Albany, New York. And week and a half left for the fall semester. So you still have a lot of work. Matambali in Colorado, nice to have you here. VE3KRP Fast Eddie, nice to have you here from Thunder Bay, Ontario. Chuck Yunkin, nice to have you here, my friend. What else do we have? Michael Langer says, Radio God blessed him today. Free gear from Elmer's. Cool stuff. Cool. Dave Freeman, nice to have you here from Unset Valley in Monroe, New York. Prasad Asoldekar, nice to have you here from India, my friend. Kevin Wood, nice to have you here from Nova Scotia. Pretty cool. Rodolfo65, nice to have you on board from New York City. Always nice to have you aboard the live show, everybody. Fort Road Massive, nice to have you here, my friend. William Moser, nice to have you on board. Prasad Asoldekar says, grid signal on 4975 not listed. Let's check that out. 4975 not listed. Anything on 4975? Let's see if we can find something for you at around 0 UT. Yeah, nothing is listed on that particular frequency, but Let me just check. Sometimes they're a little off, so it might not be 4975 precise. So 4975 really has nothing listed, eh? That's kind of interesting. Do you know what language? Do you see what language it is? Sometimes we might be able to kind of guess maybe what it could be. Interesting to see. 4975 there in India. Rob, nice to have you on board from Phoenix, Arizona. David, KJ4CMY, nice to have you on board, my friend. JD, nice to have you on board from Prince Edward Island. Cool. Bolin191, what's the best way to get QSL cards by letter mail? What's the procedure? So, okay. QSL cards. If you want a QSL card, so, okay, well, run the basics. It's going to be part of the questions of today anyways. The basics of getting a QSL card. I'm just going to go quickly a little bit further down the chat room, and it's going to be the first question we're going to answer, QSL cards. Simplio, nice to have you here, my friend. 7220 Radio Romania and China Radio International, when they signed off 5 minutes ago. Nice to have you here. Zach Ariental, nice to have you here, Zach. He's stoned. Not too much, I hope. Enough that you'll remember the show. I got no beer today. I've got 7-Up, cranberry juice, and vodka. So cheers, everybody. Keegan, nice to have you here in Northwest Arkansas. Rufus Newt in the blustery Laurentian Valley, Ontario. Pretty cool here, too. It's going to be like minus 15 tonight or something. Simplio's Radio Mali, 5995. Kevin Wood has 7315. Voice of Vietnam. Pretty good signal, actually. Really strong. Kimberly, K6YYL from California. Nice to have you on board. Radioactive says 7315 S3 in Oregon. Solar Drew, nice to have you on board. Yes, it was nice, the tree you posted. I was waiting to see if everybody would see that... what's in that tree. That's another reason why you should join the Facebook group. There's all sorts of things happening there. Ron Hicks, nice to have you here. KM4LDI. Pretty cool. Zach, no, I did not see the trailer of the new James Bond movie. Does it look good? Ron Hicks, has anybody listened to WTWW 5085? Yeah, I was listening the other day. Actually, a few of you found it so funny because I went on, so they were playing music, and of course you can go to WTWW.us website, and you can click the at the top, you can actually request a song, actually 2 songs per hour. And somebody found it so funny that I requested 2 Christmas songs, and the name that I put that everybody could see was YouTube official SWL channel in the list of requests. William Moser, nice to have you here. Fort Worth Massive says lots of noise in Southeast Ireland, more than usual. You know, we were talking about that, and we're going to talk about it too. A lot of people have been mentioning Christmas decorations, and we're going to talk about that. It's going to be part of the questions tonight. So first QSL, then Christmas decorations and interference and winter interference, and lots of things happening there. And plus, we'll have other questions throughout the night. Simplio says Radio Marley and Radio Mali in Northwest Africa, 50 watt kilowatt transmitter. Can hear it on Texan PL 600. That's good. Arthur's Alley Crafter's Kitchen. Nice to have you here from Massachusetts. Ron Hicks listens to WTWW online mostly and wear out the song requests. Oh, man. Solar True, did I ever ice canoe? No, never. I don't think most people in the 48 states know what ice canoeing is. No, I did canoe, but in the summertime, in a lake and a river, but not the... Unless you mean something else and I don't understand what exactly you mean by ice canoe. James Powers, nice to have you on board from Derry, New Hampshire. What else is there here? Try to see John McClure. Nice to have you on board. Yingli CA, nice to have you here. VE3TYA from Ontario. Nice to have you on board. What else do we have? Let's go down here. Yeah, Kevin Wood will be on Maui. That will be nice to see what you hear from Hawaii. Pretty cool, you lucky bum. Keegan has 5,000 WWV. That's 5 out of 5. James de Calais, bonsoir et bienvenue de la France. Nice to have you here. It's late over there. Unpopcom, nice to have you on board from South Central Pennsylvania. RFDXer, nice to have you here from East Central Pennsylvania. Ron Hicks says, would like to get another portable shortwave radio because this Grundig FR200 just doesn't cut it. I would like one that has external antenna connector and BFO. It's going to be part of the questions tonight, Ron, so listen to the show. There's a lot of questions that I want to answer. Vince Perrault, salut, bienvenue. De Deux Montagnes, toujours un plaisir. Always nice to have you here. I want to know the host's go-to shortwave radio. We're gonna talk about that. I tell you, you're gonna learn quite a few things. I think tonight is gonna be a great one for newbies that aren't, and always I say newbies, but honestly, there are so many things in our hobby that even when we go back to the basics, there's a lot of stuff that even seasoned, experienced DXers might actually learn little pointers here and there. Michael Langer says, cheers as usual. Jersey bound, nice to have you on board from New Jersey. Rifleman 336, nice to have you on board, trying to stay warm in southwest of Ohio. It's pretty cold here too tonight. N8UCN, we had kind of a snow squall go through about an hour ago. We barely could see the other side of the street. It lasted like 10 minutes, and now it seems to be pretty much quiet out there. Ron Deming, nice to have you on board from the rainy Oregon coast. And so we're gonna stop here. I'm not totally down the list, but here's the thing. So here's so we're gonna start with QSL cards. So because we wanted to talk about QSL cards, and what are they? They're beautiful little things like this. I'm going to show you guys an example. So, here's examples of beautiful QSL cards. These are some of the QSL cards I've received over time. So here's, for example, some QSL cards. Radio Cairo, Egypt. We have Radio Korea, which is KBS World Radio today. These are older ones. Radio Orion, that unfortunately it doesn't exist anymore, from South Africa. Radio St. Helena from the times of Radio St. Helena days. For those that are wondering. Lots of stuff in the back, of course. You have even the full postal address and full stuff in the back with frequency that I listen to and so on. So today QSLs come in two forms, and they are either eQSL or postal paper QSLs. So first of all, what is a QSL and what does it mean? Well, QSL cards are verification cards. They are usually sent to you back because you do a report to a station that you actually tell them when and how you listen to them, frequency, time, date, language, how strong it was, how the signal was. A lot of people use the simple code, but I've always described how the reception was. Why? I think even more today than ever, simple code doesn't necessarily mean much to most people reading your reports. It's, it used to be a very standard thing. Simple code was known code. More and more today, I have the impression that they just don't know what that means. So, you know what? Instead of the simple code, or if you can add the simple code, but you can also add the description of, describe how reception was, the interference we're having, What do you think it was? Where do you think it came from? And how well you were receiving the station, and you did it have some difficulty understanding whatever they were saying, and so on. Was the signal weak or fair or good, or lots of fades and so on. And of course, you should include minimum of 15 minutes of details of the broadcast itself, so that you can prove the station you really were listening. And of course, don't be, I always say don't be a QSL hog. I was for a long time. When I was a teenager, I was more a QSL hog than anything else. But take the time to tell them what you like or don't like about their broadcast, because it does help a lot. And of course, knowing that you're listening in is a very, very good thing for them also. So that's the first step. Then, how do you send it? And what is required? So, a lot of stations have emails. Today, a lot of our sending is done through email address. So you send them through an email. A few stations have a form on their webpage that you can, like Radio Japan does. And what you do is you send that email with all the description and everything. But even if you send an email, always include your postal address. A lot of people don't. And a lot of stations, even though you send a report by email, will want to send you a card by snail mail, that good old postal mail. So that is something that you need to know, and you need to include your full name and postal address for them to send it back to you somewhere. So never hesitate to give your full postal address. A lot of people are, not sure. I don't want to, give my postal address or anything. Well, you won't get a QSL if you don't. So it's part of, doing it, and it's part of the deal. If you want to have a QSL back, a lot of stations still do. Even with an email report, a lot of stations still do send that QSL back by postal mail. So never forget to include your postal mail. Now, if you do send by snail mail, because maybe some stations you want to send by snail mail, what's the requirements? Well, there isn't for most stations any special requirements. You need to know their address so you can send that letter to. But for big major broadcasters, there's really nothing much to do. You just send that report, tell them the same thing, the details of all that you listen to. And don't forget to include your return postal address. And, in a few weeks, a couple of months, sometimes a year later, you will get a QSL card in the mail. Hopefully. Now, are there any other things that you could do? For major international broadcasters, it's not required to have anything else in general. Smaller broadcasters, it might help if you help them. Utility broadcasters, it might help you if you help them. How? Either you can send what's called a self-addressed stamped envelope. So you include an envelope in the in your own mailing with your full address. That envelope has stamps from the country where you want that card from, so that all they have to do is insert the things that they want to give you, a QSL card, and put it in the mail. It doesn't cost them much because you already paid for the postage and everything. Smaller broadcasters, I remember doing this a lot for African countries. Often what I would have done and would still do today if I would send QSLs for small broadcasters for utilities would be to include a $1 or $2 US in the envelope with all the details, so that you actually can pay for whatever return, a couple of bucks. I used to put $1, but that was in 1991. I guess today maybe $2 or $3 maybe is a little more the reality of things. And so you can do little things like that to help them pay for the return postage. That will increase your return, of course. But the big majority of broadcasters actually require nothing in return most of the time. Kevin Wood, whistling stuff, 7205. 7205. I'm hearing something very weak over here on 7205. Michael Anger, great idea for an entire show. Just ban radios and tell us about each and stacks of memorabilia. Be cool show. Cool. We already went through the radios a few times. I know people like that a lot. All the radios that I've got and everything. We'll talk, of course, QSL cards. We'll try to continue on Friday with QSL cards. We never really did start on Friday with the QSL cards. By the way, we're not going to do 6 hours today, okay? I'm telling you guys. 6 hours is pretty much... it's going to take a while before I break that record again. So let's just continue here. Tech Guy, nice to have you here. What else do we have? Just check it out here. We have Radioactive says, I bought a coax upgrade while I was in Portland, Oregon yesterday. 50 feet of LMR 400 from Ham Radio Outlet. And the programming cable and CD for his FT60. So much easier to program the HD now. Cool. Keegan has CHU through the noise on 3330. Yingli CS is good to be here now. Must go. I have to have coffee. The boys. Back later. Take care, my friend. Kevin Wood says, we'll pack his E5 even though whip ant is antenna is missing. Yeah, just pack your E5 and some wire so that you can have an antenna with it. It'll be perfect. Rufus Newt had a crew in to insulate basement. The truck they ran generated so much RFI. Anything in AM was destroyed. Just turned my radios back on. Wow. Keegan says, I've not heard CHU and 7850 for a while, it seems. Yeah, I think they're off the air. I think they're off the air. They're having some problems. So, really cool. Simply OS China Radio International on 5990. Hey, Eric. Nice to have you here, Eric Cottrell. And it'll be nice to see you at the Christmas dinner next week. It'll be nice to have you back up here in Montreal. And yes, holidays are a great time for pirate listening. Absolutely. It's one of those great moments. Halloween, Thanksgiving, Easter, and Christmas are probably the biggest times of the year for pirate radio listening. You're totally right, Eric. Reynold Klons, nice to have you here from Chicagoland. What else do we have? Northern Dawn says BBC in Burmese on 7465. Wow. James Powers, nice to have you here. My wife Laurel wants to know what you're drinking and what you drink while doing karaoke. So right now what I'm drinking is 1.5 ounces of vodka and 2 7-Up and cranberry juice, which is great. And when I do karaoke, most of the time I drink beer. Pretty much most of the time I drink beer. And take it easy. And sing a lot of songs. So nice to have you both here. Prasad says, written to BBC, expecting my first QSL card. Yeah, I don't know if the BBC still QSL, Prasad. I don't want to be a downer. But hopefully, I'm not sure they still QSL. Let's cross our fingers and let us know. So Prasad says, never knew about QSL cards. One of the things I might want to add on QSL cards is there are stations today that don't QSL. There are some stations that used to that don't QSL anymore. So, it's it's something that you gotta expect that maybe some stations, and never forget that that stations do not owe you anything. So if they don't send you a QSL card, they don't send you a QSL card. Pretty. That's pretty much it, So don't expect, but there's still a lot of stations that do QSL, and a lot of them will EQSL. That means that if you send an email, they'll send you a QSL in your email. You'll have a QSL card that's in a picture or some sort with verification of everything and information. So just make sure you understand that, and make sure that you understand that not all stations will QSL, unfortunately. I am not sure, but I think the BBC doesn't QSL anymore. Sorry to bring it down on that, Prasad. But if you do get a QSL, let us know, okay? Because you never know. What else do we have? Bolin 191. Well, you're not going to be sending to a communist party. You'll be sending to a radio station. RFDXer says SINPO or CO was used for reporting to clubs, especially SpeedX. Yeah, SINPO and CO, for those that wonder. So SINPO is the first letter of each word. So S is for signal, I is for interference, N is for noise, P is for propagation, and O is the overall rating. So for example, a very strong station with no noise that is easy to understand, like a local station, would have 55555. A station that would have some fading and a little bit of interference from some noise source, but still is very easy to understand. Well, you could say signal was 5, interference made it 4, noise made it 5. Noise is atmospheric noise, so more like the type of noise that could be created by solar activity or solar flares, stuff like that. Propagation, a little bit of fading, give it a 4. So if you do 5, 4, 5, 4, you can't give it an overall 5. You'll have to give it an overall 4. Kind of, telling them it was good, but it was not perfect, and so on, And the lowest rating, of course, would be 11111, which means that you probably didn't even understand anything anyway. Brian Penny, nice to have you here from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. RFDXer, you need a Spanish olive with a tiny plastic sword through it and go along with that drink. Yeah, but I'm not that fancy, honestly. I really am not that fancy. And by the way, I saw somebody saying maybe I need the beer for the karaoke. I really don't need any beer for karaoke, I can tell you that. I'll sing it real straight with no problem. Prasad 5890, Voice of America in Tibetan from Kuwait. Voice of America does QSL, so you can actually send for a QSL if you want, Prasad. Voice of America will QSL. And actually, I've heard if you're outside of the US, because remember that the Voice of America does not send and respond to anything from within the United States of America. But if you're outside, they have the 2020 calendar, a nice big wall calendar. So if you want to have that and you write for a reception report or something, why not ask them, hey, can I have a calendar? And maybe I'll have that calendar. I had it a few years back. When they were actually talking about it. Callum, too. Nice to have you here, Callum. Summon Templar. Nice to have you on board, my friend. It is Captain Jill with his pirate flag. So, Eric Cottrell says, was never a big QSL hound. I enjoyed listening to the programs and would only send for special QSL cards. So that's cool. I always did, I was a QSL hound, yes, somewhat. But I was a teenager, and I don't know. It was kind of cool. And stations back then, they would send you all kinds of stuff, and it was so cool to receive that. But most of the time, I would actually take the time to let them know, what I like and don't like. Though it was not just I want a QSL, give me, for sure. Radioactive says, speaking of QSL cards or EQSL, still waiting for Radio New Zealand to send an EQSL from our report a couple of weeks ago. Remember that it could take weeks, it could take months, and some stations sometimes takes more than a year to get cards back. So it's always it's not always easy. What else do we have? Yes, audio can be sent. One of the things that is a problem is a lot of stations don't like, by email, for example, don't like to have a attachment on the email. So that is something that you got to understand, that sometimes they don't like attachments. But if they do want, of course, you can send an audio of the reception. Wolfrog89 says, maybe a good idea to send a self-addressed and stamped envelope. Check with the station website for full info. Absolutely. But, most major broadcasters will not, don't require that, though. Butterbean, nice to have you on board from Georgia, USA. Tony Turtle, nice to have you here, my friend. Christian Fitzaris, nice to have you here, Christian. Bought the Texan PL360 and loves it. Cool. Radioactive has Trenton Military 6754. Erica Troll says, no, Jill, we'll do 8 hours today. I'll still be here at 3 in the morning. What else do we have? Matambali, save the record breaker when you have a show that starts at 14 Zulu. Who knows next time? Prasad has BBC 5970 in English. Nice signals over there. Pretty cool. Callum loves Roberts radios. Cool. Jim, nice to have you here from Rhode Island. Pretty cool. Hey, Jay Jolie. Buenas tardes, mi amigo. I miss you also. Was all alone for my beer on Sunday because you're all the way down to Costa Rica. And I'll miss you tomorrow also for my beer. But it's nice to have you on the chat. Hope you're having a blast in Costa Rica, my friend. Christian Fitzaris, a 7-Up Greyhound. Cheers. Eric says, hopefully the weather will hold up for CIDX dinner. So far, it is not too bad. Yeah, I was looking at the weather for the next week or so, and it's not too bad. So be careful on the road. It's that time of year where you never know what's going to happen. Keegan, nice to have you here. And I already said that, but he's got Welsh grape juice. Well, I haven't had that in ages. Butterbean has coffee. That's all right. That's all right. Okay, let's check it out here. Anything else? Keegan has 6,000 Radio Havana Cuba S5 out of 5. RFDXer bumper stickers, pennants, nice to get from shortwave stations. I had so many of those things. Unfortunately, I lost a lot of it with the times. I moved twice since I started my hobby. The major part of receiving of stations were done probably when I was a teenager. And I had boxes I kept everything. The envelopes, everything. And I had boxes of all of that stuff. Unfortunately, as I moved, I had to make a choice. And when I moved again, I had to make another choice. So I lost a lot of the stuff that I had when I was young, when we moved. Joe Sombra Newhouse, nice to have you on board from Brazil, my friend. Butterbean, after 50 plus years collecting, I'm still all giddy about getting a QSL card. Pretty much, you know what? This year, officially, 2019 officially will be The first ever year that I have not sent out for a QSL card. First ever. I guess I'm too busy with all the things that I do. Keegan would be it would be more if I listed with my dad's dad W9JEF ICOM IC706 or IC7300 and Lupin Tenna. Dark Noise, nice to have you on board from the Netherlands. Kevin Wood, 11815 Radio Brazil Central. It's possible. Let me just check it out here. So yeah, there's something weak. There's something very weak, but I couldn't make out the language or anything here, so I can't really. Radio Nacional de Amazonas in Brazil does come in well on 11780. Really good signal from Brazil 11780. And if we look at the schedules here, 11815. Radio Brazil Central is pretty much the only station around at this time. So I guess that weak signal I see on 11815 and whatever you're receiving has a good chance of being Radio Brazil Central and from Brazil. But it's very weak. But I see it. I see the peak and the line, the trace that it does on the SDR, definitely. Dylan Williams, any tips for the new ham? So I'm gonna check that out for new ham. Yes, there are some tips for new ham. That's we're gonna add that to what we are talking today. I'll take a pause here. I'm just only 3 minutes behind in the chat, so it's gonna be okay. I'm gonna say hello to Matt, MDK2. Nice to have you here from Colorado, and Jeffrey Blackmon from Ohio. Nice to have you here. So William Moser has, anybody have any good tips for portable antennas for shortwave that I can use at the beach? That's interesting. At the beach, if you can get to the beach and not be too far from a tree, maybe a little further, it'll be farther away from the water, from the ocean or whatever. But if close to the shore where the beach ends, you got some trees, piece of wire is probably your best friend. It's cheap and easy to put up and bring down. That's pretty much what I would try. I'm trying to see myself at the beach with my beach towel and my MLA 30 loop in the sand. That could be a nice one. That would work. I mean, people would look at me like, what the hell is he doing? But it would work. It would be nice. Okay. Number 2. Christmas decorations and high interference often go together, unfortunately. I've had a few people ask me about that, including on the Facebook group, where we talked about interference and Christmas lights. But not just Christmas lights. Honestly, it's also the cold weather. So if you get into winter, there's more electricity demand on the power lines and everything. There's often an increase of interference due to that. There'll be an increase if you're in the winter time because people spend more time indoors. So your neighbors have a bigger chance of being inside and actually, turning on all of the stuff that makes radio noise around you, unfortunately. Christmas decorations, those LED lights, some are okay, some are fine, some do a lot of noise. If you buy Christmas lights, make sure that you can test them out and maybe return them if they make too much noise in your radios. I'm always kind of careful. That's why I always prefer and still prefer, even if they're harder to get, the incandescent bulbs. Because those make zero noise. And they're always, and I like them anyways. The LED ones, it depends. I have a lot of LED sets here that actually create zero noise. The ones that are problematic most of the time are the ones that have these moving displays, like the You'll have like these icicles that have the light that it's like a dripping icicle. You'll have any light that does patterns of all sorts and flashes. These often make noise on your radio, so be aware that anything that has any patterns that move and everything could be destructive to your hobby. Unfortunately, it might not be you that's the problem, but maybe your neighbor that decorates with tons of stuff. You might notice that suddenly the noise is higher. It's kind of hard to go to the neighbor and say, hey, can you take down those Christmas lights because they're making noise on my radio? Because he's going to look at you like you're some kind of weird guy. So remember that is one thing that you that can happen. Absolutely, okay. Interference for sure. Tips for the new ham. I would say the best tips for the new ham is, first of all, what I hear very often, and what I think is still a very good rule: listen before you talk. People that are the best at their hobby are the ones that listen the most. And learn. Just read, check out what's happening around you, look at how others are operating, just I think the most basic of all, whatever you're just a listener, an amateur radio operator, all at the most basics is, can you just have fun? That's all. Just have fun. That's it. Okay? So what else do we have? Callum loves long wave. Long live the long waves. But listening before you talk is one of the biggest things I think in there for sure. Let me just check that out. Dave Freeman recently got the new SDR Play DX. Was wondering what you think about this radio. So, okay. I can't really talk much about it because apart from what I read, I don't have hands-on experience with how it performs. I would think if it's done well that it probably performs as well. I've got an RSP1A here. I know that what makes the SDR Play RSPDX even more interesting compared to the RSP1A is that 2 megahertz and below has increased performance. So if it has the same performance, say, as my RSP1A, and adds increased performance below 2 megahertz, you know what? It could be a killer device, honestly. Kevin Wood, 11980, strong but not on schedules. I have nothing here, Kevin, on 11980. I got nothing at all. Kind of weird. Randy in Riverside, California. Nice to have you here. Keegan is using the Ethan Grande Edition Field BT radio. Radioactive says, hearing Singapore radio Volmet on 6676, very weak. Wow. Okay. I'll check out if I hear anything here on 6676, which I doubt would be any Volmet from Singapore. Looking at all the signals there. I have more interference tonight than usual. I can see it in the 6 megahertz range. There's more, really more noise for me too. Could be the Christmas lights. Show some on you house. I'm on a shadow shortwave zone. I couldn't receive the station, Radio Nacional Amazonas, only web SDR. Yeah, it probably skips over you. You're too close to it. Matambali, true definition of radio nerd. Takes a rig to a nice tropical beach and DXs all day. I would actually you know, spend some time in the water, in the beach, in the water, in the ocean, come back, continue some DXing. That would be nice. Matt says took his W6 LVP loop to the beach in Oregon, but it was windy and rainy, and although I was able to take some shelter and keep the radio dry, it was a bit of an ordeal. Yeah, I would guess. When the weather's not nice. Joe Sumbria Newhouse says there's an Australian radio operator that built an HF loop antenna to carry with yourself at the beach, and it works. Cool. You know, the MLA30 would be a perfect beach antenna, honestly. Because it is not that big and pretty easy to bring everywhere, honestly. Eric Cottrell uses speaker stand to hold the Walbrook loop when doing portable. And I would guess the MLA30 would be the best easy portable because of its size. And it's small and it's not, you know, it doesn't require too much. You could actually just, you know, make a little hole in the sand just deep enough for a broomstick to hold up, and that's it. You wouldn't need that much of a complex setup, honestly. And you can even set it up at a, you know, near a tree or something that just to hold it up. Pretty cool. Radioactive says, any Christmas lights that look cool make noise. Fort Road Massive, is it possible to swap out my MLA30 wire to a stronger, maybe copper? Yeah. You technically, okay, if we look at the way that technically it should be designed, what we see here is that, oh, there's something, I'm just checking out, link 11 stuff on 6943. So, what probably needs to be done in keeping the properties of the amplifier would probably to keep the same shape and especially the same size, but although you can play around with that, you would never know, but you can switch that wire to something with a stronger wire. But you know what, mine's been hit right now with now it's been hit with really a lot of wind, and honestly it's holding very, very well. So for sure. Andy Coley, nice to have you here. I need a box of Tortured. What else do we have? What else do we have? Yeah, PVC ring of anything. Absolutely. Because here we had a lot of wind. You know, mine is on the third floor at Fort Rose Massive, and there's been a lot of wind. And it's keeping its shape. It bends while it's windy. But it's pretty much keeping its shape from what I see. We'll see as winter goes by. Fortunately, I have kind of easy access to it, so it's not too bad. Callum has a lot of interference from BBC channel on BBC Radio 4 on 198 long wave. Unfortunately, that's the sad part. William Moser, they should be out by early next year, but apparently it's going to be a hard thing to get here in North America. Prasad says 7280 Transworld Radio in Hindi from Tashkent. And Dark Noise, Netherlands. Yeah, here I have so much noise that I doubt it's going to be a nice performer. But talking of a easy portable antenna for beach, the mini whip could be one of that could be interesting. But I'll check it out. I need to try it out for sure. Here, I would say that the mini whip would probably not perform well for a very simple reason. So the mini whip is a nice antenna. I mean, it works really well when it's quiet. but it requires very, very quiet conditions and interference. And here I don't have that, and even high up. So an example is I put up my 102-inch CB whip, pretty high, higher than the roof, and I tried it just to see how it would perform, and it's a very noisy antenna. So the mini whip would probably be as noisy as the 102-inch antenna that I had, but you know, for the price, I should actually purchase one and try it out for sure. Keegan listening to software-defined receivers from New Zealand and Japan this morning. Cool. As the New Zealand SDR has WWVH in Hawaii with WWV in the background. Kind of nice. Max Headstrong, nice to have you on board from Michigan, USA. Keegan says, noticed BPM on an SDR from Japan. Okay, that's kind of interesting. So there would be some changes. Kind of interesting. What else do we have? Talk Music, bonsoir. Nice to have you here. Yeah, well, anything that is a vertical, so whip is a small vertical. Anything that is a vertical antenna, because it receives equally well everywhere around, is a noisy antenna if you have a lot of noise. Dave Freeman says, yes, it does. I'm learning how to use the SDR Play DX. You're using SDR Uno software with it? Matambale, the MLA30 is so light that even a camera tripod could support it. Absolutely. It really would require, you know, as long as there's not a lot of noise. But absolutely. David Snyder got his R75, I guess. Back from Michael K3FEF, trying it out. Also got a new surge protector, Isobar. Cool, happy that you have your R75 back, my friend. It's always sad. Prasad says, my antenna is the simplest, just 15 feet wire, still getting a lot of stations. Imagine if I have an MLA30. But you know what, Prasad, if you're very quiet condition, if you have very quiet conditions, and if you can actually add a little more length, if you would be able to extend that to 25, 30, 40 feet somehow. If it's very quiet where you are, you might not see that much of a difference with an MLA30. You know, we talked about it, and by the way, I'm going to read a little something, because we have Larry Weaver that sent in a very nice message, Larry, about the MLA30. And by the way, we're going to say hello to Elizabeth that says hi through email. Elizabeth is in Regina, and of course she is listening to the show tonight, as she is blind, and she uses a Kenwood 5000. She says, hello there, nice to have you here. And she is enjoying the show, as usual. And she ends with, thank you so much for doing this. You are truly an amazing man. Wow. That feels good. And I want to say hello, Elizabeth. It's nice to have you on board. And always cool to have everybody here. The friendship here is just great. I mean, I think it's difficult to have better friendship and better people than what we have here on the show, on the chat room, and in the Facebook group. It's truly amazing. Thanks, guys. I'm drinking a little fast. I might need to have another one a little later. So, last week we did talk about it. Somebody that had the MLA30 didn't think it was performing that well. I was kind of not sure it was, didn't work that well. but he had like 80 feet, 75 feet, 80 feet of wire. But he had really quiet conditions. And that's the thing. The MLA-30 is a loop antenna that's great if you live in a noisy environment. It's probably going to help you compared to a long wire. Because in a noisy environment, your long wire, just like a vertical, is picking up tons of noise. I still have my sloper out in the backyard. And that sloper antenna is truly noisy. It's extremely noisy. It's one of those antennas that, you know, I'm not using it. With the loops, I don't use the sloper for reception because too much noise. But it does get the signals. The signals are there. It's just that the noise with it is too high. And that's where the MLA-30 or any loop, you know, a Wellbrook or W6LVP or so on, that's where these loops help out. They help get that signal throughout that noise. And that's where it's really nice. When you are in a quiet environment and are able to actually put up a long wire in a quiet place, I don't think an MLA-30 will have much improvement. So Prasad, if you live in a very quiet environment, you might actually be already getting not too bad of signals. And, you know, take that 15 feet and try to extend it and double the size, triple the size, the longer you can. And it's already going to be much better. Kevin Wood has music on 549 kilohertz, I guess. Clark Jolson, nice to have you on board from southwest Wisconsin. Yep, noise level is everything, as Max Strong says. And Clark Jolson is KB9SJD. Cool. RFDXer says a tuner might help also if using a long wire. Everybody's saying hello to Elizabeth, Max Strong, Matambali, Bobby Burgess, Keegan, RFDXer, Rufus Newt, Tor Music, Kevin Wood, Rufus Newt. Pretty cool. No problem, Matambali. So yep, that's the thing. Urban environment, Max Strong and loops are pretty good. William Moser says, welcome, Elizabeth. Jean-Marc, nice to have you here. Jean-Marc Litz. On 20 SDR 11780, Radio Nacional Amazonia is present with Brazilian music. Talk with good signal after the sign-off at 0055 of Chinese program of Radio China International. Yeah, they signed off right now, right? No, they're still on. Radio Nacional Amazonas at 01 is still on right now. They sign off at... What's the time that they sign off? According to here, the EIBI space, they sign off at 0305. So they should be on it until 0305. I still have a very strong Radio Nacional Amazonas Brazil in Portuguese, 11780 right now. So Matt P3KRP says hello, Elizabeth. Yes, Max, I caught it in the chat. Not too bad. We need to chat faster. Yes. Okay, Dave Freeman, yes, with the SDR Uno. I'm sure you're enjoying and you're having a blast. If it performs as well as the RSP1A plus added bonus of a better below 2 megahertz, I'm sure you're having a lot of fun. My RSP1A blows my mind in how well it receives. It's really, really, truly amazing. I gotta say. Okay, other question. So we had a question a little earlier and then we're going to answer now. And it's about portable receivers with SSB, no SSB, and so on. So let's check out what we got here. I've got some radios in here. Let me check out. I'm gonna bring out one of my favorite ones that I've been using right now, which is, of course, the XH data. Let's see if the XH data with loop W6 LVP loop is getting. It's noisier on the W6 LVP loop. So, anyways. Oh, I even got it from just a telescopic, I think. Oh, look at that. Just telescopic with Radio Nacional Amazonas. Not so strong, but it's there. Pretty amazing. Okay. Portable radios. And it's a question. It's one of the questions that I get asked all the time. What's a good portable radio? Let me just get a few models here that are modern. More modern. I got this one here. Okay, let's check it out here. Trying to see what else. Okay, another one here. So we're gonna kind of talk about a few models here, and kind of talk about the different features and what's the current radio and what I would recommend, and of course some of you might have some recommendations there too. Okay, some radio manufacturers that you guys might know and might not know. Some of the recommendations I will have are from manufacturers that a lot of people don't know, especially newbies. You know, we come from a world where, remember, if you've been listening in the past, 30 years from now, 30 years ago, and you are like going somewhere, and trying to find a radio, and you're looking, where are those Panasonics and Sonys, and Grundigs? Well, times has changed, and unless you go in the used market, Panasonic and Sonys are pretty much thing of the past. Panasonic still has a couple of analog ones, but honestly, times have changed. I will show you guys two models that I recommend for those that are looking for a portable shortwave radio. One without SSB, and I still think it's a winner in its class. And if you're looking for an inexpensive, sensitive, general coverage, we'll answer that question about general coverage. I get it all the time. What does it mean? Just after is going to be the next question to answer for newbies. I still think the RadiWow R108, this is roughly $50, is a darn amazing performer and is really, really good. I used to actually have as a preference for this type of model the Texan PL380. A lot of you probably remember me pushing the Texan PL380. But when I got the RadiWow R108, this thing is actually even more interesting because it's more sensitive and it has a host of features like many bandwidths and so on that are nice, and it has the airband. Now this model does not have SSB or single sideband. If that's not required to you, I think this is a big winner model for 2019. The RadiWow R108 is one of those radios that is truly a winner. If you're looking for something that has single sideband capabilities, I think the winner for 2019, my personal winner at least, because you might not think that it should be or not, or because there's some models I haven't tested. A lot of people seem to love the Sea Crane Skywaves with SSB. And so on, and I'm sure that probably good radios, absolutely. But I would say that winner of its class for the price versus performance and features, pretty much everybody that has one loves it. The XH Data D808 receiver this is the winner for 2019. It has single sideband capability. It is a general coverage receiver. Has multiple bandwidths. It has separate upper-lower sideband capabilities. The airband, if you want to listen to airplanes. This is truly the winner. For 2019, I would give the XH Data D808 winning radio of 2019 for sure. For the rest, so we talked about C-Crane Skywave. What I personally don't like of the Skywave is mostly the price. I find they are too expensive. I'd be curious to test one with the XH Data, for example. The XH Data is for a portable radio on pretty much the top of its class of performance. So I can't really think that a C-Crane performs better. Now, that said, you got one and you love it. That's the important thing, okay? And that's where, because I always get hate mail when I talk about radios like that. People saying, well, you know what? I got a C-Crane and I love it, and you don't know what you're talking about, and blah, 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 and it's not too expensive. Look, everybody, has a favorite radio. Everybody has a favorite of whatever they're using. And honestly, if you got a C-Crane Skywave, and some of you do, you love it, that's the only thing that's important. The rest, I don't care. It doesn't matter. You love it, you use it, perfect. I'd rather you have that and use it than, like I always say, $1,000 radios that stay on the shelf and never do anything. One model that you might look into, the Texan receivers. The Texan receivers still has the PL. This one is the PL680, but you can get the PL660, which is still available and still a nice radio and sensitive and kind of nice that you could get. It's a little bigger. It's bigger than the XH Data for sure, so heavier also. So these are some of the models that you can get. But, I think my choice, and it still is, XH Data D808 if you're looking for a portable that has single sideband for shortwave. Okay. What else do we have? Kevin Miles, nice to have you here. Says hello, Elizabeth. Prasad has China Radio 7370. David Bennett, nice to have you here. Says he's just buried a pile of junk metal, hoping to get a good ground to filter the noise through the coax, if that makes any sense. Yeah, okay. Of course, that shield of the coax needs to be grounded or really well, as grounded as best as you can to block as much as it can of that interference. Unfortunately, for a lot of us, the biggest problem is after the coax, that antenna. And often that antenna is the place where the noise is unfortunately getting there. But, and grounding is a complex thing, There's different, depending on how long the grounding wire is and everything, there's a lot of stuff that could be happening. But, so grounding can help you a lot. Sometimes grounding doesn't help that much because of the noise that is, like I said, mostly happening at the antenna level. But let's cross our fingers it helps you out. I used to have a golf club. When I was young, I had planted my brother's golf club in the dirt. And I would, you guys are going to laugh at me. I put my brother's golf club probably at least 3 or 4 feet in the soil, and I would water it like a plant every day to make sure that it stays moist. Oh man. Max says strong. I use a coffee can full of dirt under my desk. I don't think that's a really good ground, honestly. Oh, man. RFDXer uses the screw that holds the outlet. Yeah, there's actually, we don't recommend using anything that is on the on a electrical outlet. I seen somebody one day say, "Hey, just stick that wire into the ground of your electric plug." That's usually not a very good idea. Any grounding that is close or too close to high power is a bad idea most of the time. The other thing is, a cold water pipe could be used. That's a possibility. No gas pipe, of course. Water pipe only. But it depends, and it depends on how far you are. Like here, I'm very high up, and on the third floor, so it's not. Getting a good ground is a complex thing. Bobby broke the stand off your R108. That's always a bummer when you break the stand, unfortunately. Tor Music is lucky. He's got a girlfriend that's buying him a RSPDX for Christmas. Wow. He's just trying to figure out how to break it to her. Okay. Man. Max S. Strong says there was a story in QST magazine about an old radio tech who found a customer's radio with a tuna can full of dirt inside the radio chassis. The customer had run a ground wire in the tuna can. Really? Man. Okay. Okay. Kind of interesting. Vince Perro says, when you say airwave about airplanes, does the PL600 can do it? PL600 cannot. PL660 and 680 do have the airband also. So if I turn on my my 680 here, and the 660 does the same, you see that it starts now at 118. I actually can listen to the local airports on this radio. 19900. So here is I would technically be able to listen to the airport here. 119,900. So PL660 and 680 do have the airband also. It's becoming a standard on a lot of radios. They have the airband included with their portables. But the PL600 does not have the airband. Yep, Max S. Strong, love the radio you have. That's the most important thing, honestly. Dave Freeman, yes, says the Airplay DX, extraordinary, amazing, cool. Radio Wave Seeker, curious thing is once metal is in the ground, I think it's all just a ground. Not sure if the metal matters. Well, it matters because I think it adds to that, because there needs to be a kind of an electrical thing going on. So the fact that it's metal kind of improves upon what the ground probably can be. But, I'm not an expert at grounding. Max Headstrong says, I don't even know for sure what grounding means. I just stick my hand in the sand and hope for the best. Matt, WBC Q9330, strong tonight. Yeah, they have different beams, and I know that one of them is towards the western part of North America and Canada. It's coming in not bad. It's very interesting because here it has these really deep fades where it's almost inaudible. Then it comes up real strong. So it must be, for sure it's running at 500 kilowatts right now on 9330. William Helms, nice to have you here from Florida. Pretty cool. What else do we have? So I'm going to read a little something here. before I continue and be able to be even further back in the chat. Dana F, nice to have you on board from Providence, Rhode Island. David Martin, nice to have you on board, my friend. So, Larry Weaver sent me an email and says, "Hello, Gilles. I was watching your latest YouTube extravaganza Friday, and someone asked a question about the MLA-30 and how it performed on low frequencies. I'm sorry to report that the loop hears as well as a tree stump below 600 kilohertz. My main interest lately is low frequencies, chasing non-directional beacons, NAVTEX, and DGPS stations. My other antennas are a Wellbrook ALA100LN large aperture loop. The loop size of the Wellbrook is 20 meters. My second receive antenna is a PA0RDT mini whip at about 7 meters up in a tree. All antennas are about 30 meters away from my house, sitting on the edge of a 100-acre farm field. I am certainly not comparing the MLA-30 against my two other antennas, only that the MLA-30 is deaf below 600 kilohertz. I know that the antenna manufacturer claims the loop will work down to 100 kilohertz, but mine sure doesn't. I have also read numerous reports and blogs from other hams who claim the same thing, so I do not believe this is an isolated situation." So that is little observations, personal observations of the MLA-30. And he said the first show I watched was where I heard about the MLA-30, so I ordered one that day from the same vendor you brought yours. And by the way, another thing here, it took 1 week for mine to arrive. Well, Larry says it took 5 weeks for his to arrive. So it doesn't mean because you use my vendor that it's necessarily faster. So sorry guys about that. So it's nice to have that input and that feedback, because it's kind of interesting to be able to check it out. And honestly, I have seen a lot of people talk about the MLA-30 performance in the lower frequencies and not find that it's very good. So if you're doing long wave, the MLA-30 might not be the one that you would want to use. Matt says, anyone wanting to get a handle on grounding should get the ARRL book on bounding and grounding. David Martin says, with SDR Uno version 1.33 with EXTIO released, good time to do a heads-up compare of RTL SDR and SDR Play. Absolutely. For those that don't know, the new version of SDR Uno 1.33 actually reintroduces the use and the performance and the use of an RTL SDR. So one of the things I will be doing, actually, because I'm waiting for my RTL SDR V3, is hopefully it's going to work with SDR Uno, and I'll be able to compare my RSP1A and the RTL SDR V3 for performance. I think it's going to be interesting to see. Keegan has a 60 Hz hum on WBCQ signal.
Okay, so let me ask you a question.
I don't seem to have one here. It could be something local creating that on your end. But then again, I could be simply not hearing it also. Bolin191 says, I have a grounding satellite 750. Is the black ground jack a negative element or connected or a connection to ground? It's a connection to ground, technically. Prasada Solekar says, I think once you get hooked to a single sideband, mostly listening to the hams and pirates, buying a non-SSB radio is remote. Honestly, if you have to buy one radio, you should buy it with single sideband right away, honestly. Because you would have the best capabilities immediately, honestly. And there's a lot of stuff, of course, single sideband. And we're going to talk a little bit about that too. It's a question coming up after we talk about general coverage, what it is. Vince, grounding would be best if you use a ground block. It's a F connector on a mount that you fix on the electric meter outside, like the TV cable company does. William Helm says, yep, cold water supply pipe. That also is true, David Bennett, what you're saying. If you ground it on an AC ground screw on the plate, you might have noise coming from the electrical system also. So, Radio Wave Seeker, you can tune a piano, but you cannot tune a fish. Oh, man. It's an antenna tuner. Oh, God. Kevin Wood, back in the day of amazing ground for crystal radio was the metal finger stop on our old dial telephone. Made all the difference. Oh, man, I remember Kevin doing that by accident. I remember the first ground that I made for a crystal radio. So I had that little, Radio Shack sold that little crystal radio kit, which consisted of a diode and a little coil and, a little ferrite, a diode, and a tuner capacitor, and not much more. And that earphone that you put in your ear, the little earbud. And I remember the first time that I started listening to station, I would ground myself on the water pipe in the bathroom. And you guys are gonna laugh. So, we lived in a apartment building that was very old. And the landlord would not spend a lot of money, of course. Every time there was something breaking, he would fix it himself. Whatever it was. And of course, that means it was fixed like it was fixed. So I still remember when in the bathroom, the light above the bath was close to the bath in the bathroom was actually above the sink. Something happened, and he actually changed it, and he installed a new old one because it was so cheap that instead of buying one, he found one somewhere in his junk, and which didn't matter anyways because my parents, all they wanted it was to have light in the bathroom. I remember I always was very, very, and I always wanted to experiment. So I remember I would try different stuff. I would put that wire antenna on, touch the bathtub, the window, I would see the aluminum window, whatever I would see metal. I would put that wire on it to see if it get better for reception. So I actually put the ground wire on the water pipe. And with the piece of wire that's included with the kit, I'm getting stations. I'm getting like the CBC and a few local stations are strong. And I look at the up, and I see the lamp, and I'm like, oh, that might be good. What about if I put the wire on the lamp? And if it would have been set up right, normally the metal plate of the lamp would be grounded, which means if I touch the water pipe and the lamp, I should not get an electrical shock. But I got zapped, and I remember falling in the bathtub, and like, what the hell happened here? And it's like, no, I was scared to touch anything. And of course, obviously, that means that it was not set up right. But that was one of my souvenirs of a Radio Shack crystal radio. But I remember that I was looking at the phone, and I saw that the finger stop on the dial telephone, I don't remember if I had grounded there or if I had put my antenna wire there. That I don't remember. But I remember trying it out and saying, wow, I'm receiving so much more suddenly. It's crazy. of the Don's got the Skywave SSB. It's great, but way overpriced. I look at him through squinted eyes because he thinks he's all that. Oh man. But I mean, the thing is the Skywave SSB works and does what you want, and that's all. It's just personally I do find it a little expensive, but Does grounding an indoor antenna to a cast iron heater improve reception? You could try it. You never know. You got to try it. Prasad says, my problem with the D808 is the battery. It consumes too much of it even when it's off. That's interesting because I don't have that problem. I've seen a few people mention that, and I don't seem to have that problem. Remember one thing, Prasad, that battery indicator is no good. Eh? That is one big problem and a big flaw. So, just to give you an example, okay? We're going to do the test live. I will actually... Whoops. Wow, that was an ejection battery. So I'm going to actually replace it with one that I charged actually yesterday. Right here. So this is one of those 18650s. Chinese made with fake writing on it. I'm going to put it here. And of course I could have used the original Texan battery in it. And we're going to put the battery cover on. And we're going to check it out, okay? Here's on. And I'm going to leave it on. And I'm going to observe that all the time. So, battery indication right here says full right now. So, I'm going to leave it on. And we're going to wait. How long does it take for the battery indication to actually drop? Technically, it should stay close to full for a long time. And that's one of the problems with the XH Data D808. The battery indication is faulty. It doesn't reflect reality. Prasad, have you kind of used it? For example, even though the battery indication was saying half, for example, have you continued using it and see how many hours you might have? Or another question I would have, Prasad, is you say it consumes too much of it when it's off. Did it happen that you picked up the radio and had not used it for a few weeks and the battery was already dead and you couldn't use it? I'm just curious. Because the battery indication is definitely wrong on the D808. That is a flaw. But I get hours and hours and hours of battery with the battery, even the included Texan battery. Max Strong says, just lost the battery compartment cove to my CC Crane pocket radio. Dropped it, kicked it, and abused it beyond belief. It just won't die. Four-drone massive. Which is better, 660 or 880? You know what? That probably is a debate, honestly, because I see people saying, "Yeah, well, the 880 is good. The 660 is better." I don't have them, so I cannot personally say anything. I see people that love their 880, people that love their 660. But I've kind of seen contradicting reports on which one would be better than the other. Clark Jilson says, I think it's the 660 that's better, but I'm curious what all think. Yeah, I've seen some conflicting reports, honestly. Radio Wave Seeker, tough call on both. Okay. Dave Freeman, don't know if it's ever been asked to you or suggested already. What thinking if might be good for you to buy some time on WBCQ stations for shortwave for a DX magazine show to attract new listeners? It's come to my mind quite regularly, honestly, Dave. For that, I'm looking. We'll see in 2020. I'm looking at how steady my revenues are with YouTube and with the donations and everything. But it's something that is been I've been thinking a lot of maybe getting some kind of mostly for the fun of it. I somebody that I know had a show on WBCQ, and the reason why I probably have not gone there yet, it's not just the revenue thing. It's also the fact of that person was telling me how he didn't have or didn't seem to have a lot of listeners. Now, one of the things that is, of course, I would have listeners for sure, because I know that I would just announce it on my YouTube channel and in a Facebook group and so on, and that I would have people listening in. So basically, it's it's I don't know. It's something that I'd like, but I would probably. I'm not sure it would bring me necessarily that many new listeners, although I might be wrong. But I probably would do it much more for just my personal fun. Having my voice on a shortwave station, and and if I had a choice, I would probably prefer, even though it's more expensive, to do it via like WRMI or something like that. But it is there, and it's something I'm thinking about. On YouTube, revenues are variable. What is interesting will be to check out. So with December, November that just ended was the best I've ever had. December will be close or equal to pretty much that. But the problem is January revenue on YouTube usually drops a lot. So I'm gonna start by checking out what the revenue is gonna be in January, which basically will kind of give me an idea of the whole 2020 year, how the revenue are, and from there, who knows? Maybe I'll have something. It's also the other. There's one other thing about that, and it's the having the time to do it. If you have a show, you got to prepare a show. It's got to be a minimum of quality, a minimum of interesting topics to talk about. I already do a lot with the streams and everything here, so and my time is extremely limited. I have so many things I do in a week that finding time is a tough one for me. So, but it's something that I'm kind of thinking about, honestly, and we'll be checking that out for sure. Northern Dawn, I struggle with airband signals on my RTL dongle. A few pointers for airband signals on the RTL dongle is make sure you don't push that RF gain too high. It's one of the common mistakes is RF gain being too high. The other thing is probably the type of antenna that you have connected to the RTL dongle also can play a huge role in there. Bradley Atchin, nice to have you here. Chris Alpha Tango, nice to have you here, my friend. Radio Wave Seeker, the 880 IMO does not have the deep development of the sync circuits as 660. When you sync a 660, it locks on hard. 660 for the wind. Okay, so we're getting there. Radio Wave Seeker says, the only other radio I own that syncs as good as 660 is my Drake, and that costs a lot more than 660. My 680, which apparently is quite close in performance to the 660, also locks really well with the sync detector. Really syncs really well. Chuck Yunkin, good earth ground matters. What else do we have? Chris Alpha Tango. New SDR software requires new drivers upgrade, I think, for Windows 10. If you are using RTL SDRs and stuff like that, every time there's a big update to Windows 10, you need to reinstall that Zadig driver. Max Edstrong, my best understanding of grounding is that it creates a path of least resistance to release static discharge that builds up within the system. Well, part of it is that, and part of it is to create some kind of equilibrium between the antenna and the receiving system that apparently helps out and also helps out to remove noise. Dave, just got my sample issue of CIDX. Read it. Think do a DX magazine show there on Montreal, CKUT 90.3. So yeah, I'm part of the team of the International Radio Report on Sunday mornings in Montreal and CKUT, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, 15:30 UTC, and that can be also streamed via the internet on ckut.ca, or if you use an app like TuneIn, you can actually stream CKUT 90.3 FM from TuneIn. And yes, I'm part of the show on Sunday morning. So yes, I happy to be part, and it's an interesting show. Talks about local and international radio news. Carlos Flores, nice to have you here, my friend. Wasim, why I didn't get my ham license? Because I love listening. And I never really got that, drive. But now I got to, because a lot of people would like me to be there, and I need to do it. But I never got that drive. Listening was for me, for me, listening was enough. And there's a lot of hams here in the chat that tell me all the time, I got my ham license, but I never use it. I never talk. Radio Wave Seeker. Grounding in radios is weird, as it has to do with more than just protecting the radio. It has to do with standing waves on transmissions. It's all a system. The antenna and the grounding together make a complete system that is in equilibrium in some way. It's a complex thing. It's one of those aspects, and it's honestly one of those parts of the hobby that I probably have the least amount of knowledge about. WF7I Homebrew, nice to have you on board. Running on empty tonight and headed to bed soon. Nice to have you on board, my friend. Tor Music says, I had a crystal radio as well, and was like magic to me when I was a kid. Same here. I mean, I was so amazed that, without electricity, just the radio waves in the air would actually be enough for me to listen to that crystal radio. It was crazy. Pretty crazy. Keegan W9JEF. His dad built his first crystal set in 49. Wow. Matt Ekstron says, seems like all my portables have nearly useless battery meters. As soon as the battery indicator starts to draw, the radio is dead within a short time. You make sure that the batteries are okay. Rechargeable batteries can go bad quite fast. And some radios don't work well. Most models do work well, but there are some models that do not work very well with rechargeables because of the lower voltage. So it tends to drop off faster. And sometimes even like the DX Radio Shack DX398. If you put 4 alkaline batteries, the battery meter is at full because they're all 1.5 volts. If you put 4 rechargeable batteries, now you're at 1.2 volts per cell, the battery indicator never gets to the full with rechargeable batteries. Now, it still works fine, but it never is full. It's kind of annoying at some point. You know, there are little things that annoy us in life sometimes. That's one of them. When I put rechargeables and the battery meter's never to the top, it's like, okay, I hate that. But, you know, it's 4.8 volts if you put 4 rechargeables. Remember that. If you, for example, a radio that uses 4 batteries, you're at 6 volts with alkalines, but you're at 4.8 volts when you're using rechargeables. They don't have the same voltage, quite the same voltage. Maria 330, nice to have you on board. WF7I says, by the way, my D808 showed full battery indication when I put in the charger. I use my 7800 lithium-ion backup cell phone battery on another charger. It never went full scale. Oh, interesting. Interesting. It could have some form of battery problem. Radio Wave Seeker says most of the 18650 batteries start at around 4.1 volts and quickly drop to 3.7. Where it is the standard area it works at. That probably is the case. Let's do an experiment. So used. This one is the one I took out of the XH data. It's been used for about, I would say, a good 10 hours of battery. Let's take fully charged. And let's find little meter here. So everybody say hello to Mr. Multimeter. So we'll put it at battery testing. Here we go. So now I don't remember which one is one, but we'll see it now. So, okay, let me just put it here. So this is man, this is not using all of your. I'm just gonna put it here. Okay, here we go. This is gonna be here. This should be okay here. Here. So this one is at 4.2 volts. So technically this should be the fully charged one. If I'm not mistaken, this one is the one used for several hours. Let's see what voltage this one will actually give me. So this one gives me, if I can actually have it measured correctly. Yeah, this one is the used one. And it gives me 3.8 volts. So this is the one that was in the XH data, 3.8 volts. About 10 hours of use on the XH data. And you see that the fully charged gave me 4.2 volts. Which I'll put back up here. And keep the one that's used there. So it gives you an idea, guys, of what it looks like. Always have a meter handy. You never know when you'll be using it. What else do we have? Rufus Newt says, my older portable seems to be more accurate for battery power. Kevin Woods, 7780.
Ethnicity of the people involved. And again, there are language institutes and that promote this, and there are laws.
They are talking about something. So we'll keep it there. So Kevin Wood says 7780 DX program is on. 5085, I believe, will have Am Nation. WTWW will have Am Nation at 9 p.m. Eastern. That's 02 UT, I think. Prasad says, I use it regularly. I will try to use it at a stretch and see how many hours it gives from full battery until it exhausts. That's, I think, is the thing. Because, like I said here, I use it. Battery drops real fast. Battery drops real fast. Of course, it hasn't dropped yet because it's just trying to tell me that, no, that's not true. but it drops off real fast to about mid-level, but it will stay at that mid-level for ages. So make sure it's not just that the indication is bad, not that the battery is really draining. Radio Wave Seeker says my 808 ran for 24 hours, then died. Chris Alpha Tango never had a QSO, but waiting for the day. N3WER. What my broadcast would be like? I don't know yet. I would like to have a mix of... I would like to be radio related. And I would not want it to be a DX show like we see already. I would like it to be more of a, I don't know, answering listeners' questions about radio and rambling on about, radio souvenirs and stuff and QSLs and stories from my radio past and a mix of all sorts of things. I don't know, something like that. Dave Bilal, nice to have you on board from Claremont, New Hampshire. Dave Freeman says that would be great if you did a show on WBCQ. And we'll check about it. We'll check out. That's for sure. We'll be checking that out. Would be asking, for whoever is listening in and checking out. I would probably issue some kind of EQSL, tell everybody, well, if you're listening through WBCQ, for example, or WRMI, if you want to have an EQSL, Kevin Miles says 7780 strong on his Ethon E1 XM stock antenna. It's not too bad here, also. I think it's AWR Wavescan that's playing. Mark Elford, nice to have you here. Mark Elford. That's located to... let me just check it out here. So, Mark Elford just moved this month. And I got the new things that came with an envelope full of high frequency noise. Okay. Yeah, 680 from what I've read and seen is similar in performance to the 660. But it really sucks. Noise always sucks on radio. D-Raf, nice to have you here, my friend. The 680 appeared about 6 months after the 660. And that's what made me buy the 680 rather than the 660, actually. Because I've been wanting to buy a new Texan. And I had my eye on the 660 to see if it was an improvement on the 600 that I have also. And because the 680 was the new one, I purchased the 680. Max Headstrong says we should all move to the National Radio Quiet Zone in West Virginia. Then they would all be complaining because we would be all doing the noise with our radios. Prasad says, by the way, I got my sample copy, December issue of CIDX, quite exhaustive. I think I'm going to subscribe. Cool. Cool Radio Wave Seeker for the explanation for grounding. It's a complete circuit. Think of radio frequency, not just transmitting, but reception, a complete circuit that needs to be in equilibrium to work at its max. You can have a radio that has no ground. It's still going to receive. You still may be able to transmit, but it's not at its peak of what its performance can be because it's not a complete circuit. It's kind of that. It's kind of the way that I see grounding, actually. Clark Gilson, I wonder if general coverage reception on a transceiver is just as good as a general coverage receiver. It is, from what I see, it is. Most general coverage transceivers have as good a reception. They are usually as good as receivers. Actually, today it doesn't happen anymore much, but in the past, there were several ICOM and several Kenwood radios that were using the receiver from the AM transceivers as a standalone receiver. David Martin, some draining battery problems when installing, but radio off on my radio Ethon Mini Grundig Edition. Just checked it. 2 AA batteries installed were fully charged. Now are dead. So, How long? How long have you seen or used it? Last, because remember also, some rechargeable batteries are not as good as others at keeping their charge. That's also something. What I think of the Ethon Elite Executive, looks nice, Randy Cook. Unfortunately, we have no really real world performance test yet. It is expensive, so it better be good. Yeah, but it looks nice. It looks nice. And talking of general coverage, because that's something we wanted to talk also in our questions. So general coverage refers to a radio that has full coverage of the radio spectrum on HF without any cuts anywhere. So a lot of radios, a lot of portables come with the fact that they are receiving just specific bands or specific chunks of frequencies. And so they're not receiving everywhere. So a typical radio, portable radio, might be programmed to receive from, say, 2.3 to 26 megahertz. Well, that cannot count as a general coverage. It doesn't cover the full spectrum of the shortwave band. It has to be really, really from, the beginning of the bottom of the band, and a general coverage often will be even medium wave and long wave, all the way up to 30 megahertz without any frequency missing in there. So a general coverage receiver will be a full shortwave scale without any frequencies missing out of it. Clark Jolson says, I'm thinking so as well, but transceivers don't have AM sync features as what a nice receiver would. Yeah, AM sync, I don't recall seeing any. There must be some, but I don't recall seeing any transceivers that have AM sync capabilities. But on a really good, I don't know. I don't want to say what I'm going to say, but at the same time, are really good shortwave radios, do they really need sync capabilities at the same time? A lot of them don't. But I know that, yes, sync possibly does have that. Pressa 9380, Vivid Bharati Strong. Not sure you will get it. Wow, 9380. Let's just check that. What's that? 9380 and 380. Yeah, from All India Radio. Okay. I'll try it, but I don't think I'll get it. 9380. There's absolutely nothing at all here on that frequency range. WRMI 9395 is really good with music right now. And man, we're already at 2 hours in the show. I always am amazed at how fast time flies. Pretty crazy, eh? Paul is Jay Watterson 69. Nice to have you here, by the way. DRAF, I had a Remco Crystal Radio in the 50s and later Remco Caravel. Received all the New York City and New Jersey stations, which were close by. Cool. So Paul is in the living room. Paul is in the living room sleeping. Oh, this is a cheap Rufus. It's really a cheap multimeter that I purchased for the fantastic price of $14.99. I have another one that is more advanced here, but I need to check out why it doesn't work well. This one is from, actually this is old. This one is from my days of actually, I was at a electronics course, and this was actually when I purchased the course, you had some equipment that would actually, you would purchase some equipment you needed with it. And this meter, the Gold Star meter here, is the official meter that I had, I've owned this for at least 30 years. But it has some weird problem in the display. It actually sometimes stops giving all the readings that I want, and it just displays random numbers. So I don't know what's happening with it. Something is wrong with it. RAE Argentina starting right now on 9395 kilohertz with a really good signal via WRMI. So RAE Argentina ID 9395 right now. What else do we have? Let's check it out here. Yeah, English language radio, Argentina al exterior 9395 with an amazing signal here, actually. Let's try it out here. Let's see if I can receive it just with the telescopic. Oh, telescopic is very weak. But I think I can possibly use. Okay, it doesn't work because it's not plugged in. But let me just check it out here. 2 seconds, guys. We're gonna try to have you guys listen to RAE Argentina on the XH data using the W6LVP loop. Here we go. I think this is going to be really good. There we go. There we go, guys. Yeah, with the loops coming in really well. So this is REE Argentina, W6LVP loop on the XH data D808.
Janine Agnes was sworn in as Bolivia's president before the Legislative Assembly and promised to call for new elections as soon as possible.
So this is really good signal coming from Argentina using the W6LVP loop that I've dedicated to my portables right now. So it works pretty good. Also coming in well on my RSP1A with the MLA30 loop. Sorry, guys. J169 got the Degen 31MS active loop antenna. It's awesome. None of the papers I put it on blow away. Okay. Radio Wave Seeker, I like that idea, Jill. Go for it, man. That is great. Could be you bouncing off the ionosphere. Yeah, absolutely. Rather than Brother Stare, that's for sure. We'll be checking that out. Radio Wave Seeker, you got my hopes up, Jill. Another chance to kick my feet up and enjoy a great radio show. Yeah, Steve in Australia. Nice to have you here. Yeah, Conta Boys. Exactly. Sonic Gamer. What Texan radio would you recommend for a newbie? Well, if I had to choose radio in general, Texan. If it's a Texan, absolutely Texan you want, maybe you could get the PL310ET, which is the a small portable with easy tuning mode, which is kind of a cool feature if you don't want to spend too much money. So the PL310ET. If you have a more advanced, probably the Texan PL660, which has single sideband. But once again, I would say that if you have a radio and you want to buy one with SSB and all of that, XH Data D808 is an amazing radio. MEA 707, is there a power adapter that works on the PL880 without wiping out AM shortwave reception? I can only use it on battery. Unfortunately, MEA 707, that is probably for most of us what happens. That's why I never, ever use a portable radio on the plugged into the power outlets. It brings it too much noise. It's sad, but it's one of the things that's for shortwave reception almost impossible. Get yourself a couple of sets of rechargeable batteries. I think it's the best thing you can do. David Martin, 6 months since I checked the Ethon Mini. Some batch of rechargeable batteries have good shelf life, so pretty sure it's the radio trickle discharging. But it does have the clock on, I think, right? And also one flaw. I don't know if I have it here. Yep. So one flaw of the, for example, the Traveler 3, and that could be a problem. So I like the fact that on my Traveler 3, I can keep the display on, and which is really nice to see, you know. Problem is, when you do that and you shut the radio off, the display will stay on. You have to press the button to shut down the light, the backlight. So if you forget to do that, you will run down the batteries because the light stayed on, which is kind of a big flaw for radio. I mean, when you shut off the radio, it should shut off the light also, you know. Shine Forever, nice to have you here. Says best hands down for the battery, Samsung 18650, 2200 milliamp hour. More money though. Okay, I just try to get to where I was. What else do we have? Bro Weaver, nice to have you here. With a receiver that is made for certain chunks of shortwave frequencies, will that radio perform better than a general coverage receiver? No. They will pretty much perform the same on that. Where there is a difference in reception is when you use wideband receivers. So if you look at... I like all the batteries that fell down. So if you look at the... If you look at the a radio like this one, the ICOM SCR20, that doesn't have the same performance on shortwave and everywhere because it's a very wideband receiver. But when we talk about shortwave only radios, honestly, a radio that only has, for example, international broadcast bands with AM, FM, and a radio that has the full spectrum of a general coverage receiver, there's really nothing much in difference. Much difference in performance or at all. Um, Dave Freeman says, Joe was looking over the CIDX December issue. They mentioned one station that were giving an EQSL. Can you talk about that EQSL? Is it as good as a QSL card by snail mail? Look, it's a QSL is a QSL. And the QSL cards are, of course, a lot of people prefer paper QSLs. But the QSLs, even an EQSL is a good QSL, honestly. It's just that it's, an image and it comes in on email in the form of an electronic QSL. But, I see a lot of people that actually are kind of not happy at the fact that some stations are not sending paper QSLs anymore. But they are so much more expensive to send to stations that we've got to accept and understand that a lot of these stations, will have to send them via email. So for me, it's the same, but I know that not everybody would honestly love EQSLs. Not everybody likes that. David Martin has an Anchor LED flashlight, works with 18650. So, Larry Cook, synchronous detection improves on diode envelope detection, but many radios with well-designed IQ detector will perform as well or better. Prasad has nothing on 9395. Yeah, 9395 is WRMI, and it's meant for East Coast of North America. So I'm not surprised you're not getting anything there, Prasad. Not at all surprised. Unfortunately. Jay Watterson says the Degen antenna thing was a joke. None of the papers I put on blew away like a paper light. Yeah, I know. No worry, Jay Watterson. I got it. Joe, what kind of work did you do before this? Before this, I was a tech guy. I would fix computers for about 17 years. I had my own little tech company. And before that, I was fixing, helping in the design and fixing complex lighting systems, and had a ton of other jobs in there. Vince, there's pretty much the same radio. PL 660 and 680 are just were released about 6 months apart, but they do pretty much the same. Pretty much do the same. You got runaway batteries. They all want to go. So they're pretty much the same. There's very little difference between the PL 660 and 680. Except the 680 had a high amount of people complaining about the display being a little bit off. Mine is 1 kilohertz off, actually. Yeah, I hate it when that happens. Take care, Terry Cook. Rufus Newt, keep calm and continue. That's what I did. That's pretty much what I did. Yeah, Dave Freeman. EQSLs are, sent by email because it's cheaper. What I do with EQSLs, honestly, is now I don't have a color printer anymore, but when I had my color inkjet printer, I would actually print them out on photo paper. If you don't have an inkjet printer, you could go to Walmart, to go to anywhere that they actually take pictures and create and make paper or photographs with them, and make yourself your own paper QSL out of the eQSL they sent you. And that's one way of keeping them on a paper form. But they are, for me, it's a question of people from the past always add the QSL cards on paper. Of course, receiving a QSL card from by mail there's something special about it, knowing that it comes from another country and arrived through the mail. But we got to understand that, honestly, it costs a lot of money, and more stations will be inclined to send us an eQSL instead. Dave Freeman, I was trying to find out if there is any website where you can search for shortwave stations, not only by country, but by target country. Actually, it's target area, mostly, because a station that broadcasts to an area will usually broadcast to a continent or part of that continent. So what you might... you will not find a list that will tell you this is directed to Canada or United States, but you will find it, directed to North America, for example, or Europe, or Western Europe, or Africa, or West Africa, or East Africa. It's by target area mostly. I think if you look at, let me just check out here. If you go to let me just check short-wave.info. Yeah. Yeah, there's... I can't say that there's any list that because a lot of lists, like the IBISpace.de list, will tell you the target areas and stuff, but I don't think there will be a, Well, they're actually, they're telling you, because they're listed by, so for example, what you need to look, Dave, is a time list. So EIBISpace, for example, you look at the time list. In there, when you look at a list like that, okay, or any other, if you go to short-wave.info that I'm looking right now also, it's another example. What you have is you have the information in there. So, for example, if I look at 93.95 that I'm listening to right now, okay, and it's RAE Argentina from WRMI, here what I have as information is 9395 02 UTC Radio Argentina al Exterior in English. But then it says ENA. That tells you Eastern North America. They all have that information. They tell you where it's directed to. So, I guess if you isolate and look just at what's your target area, ENA for me, for example, for Eastern North America, you'll pin down everything that is transmitted to a certain target area. But they all have that information. They all tell you not only what the station, where it comes from, but it always has the target area mentioned to what area of the world this broadcast should be, or is directed to, basically. David Martin, my last job was manage and coordinate rapid transfers of lots of ones and zeros. Yeah, like Moria 230 says, you need people that put all of this together, put it in a mail, and so on. It costs money. Bro Weaver, so take your EQSL on a thumb drive to Walmart and print out. But I was stupid and have a color printer. I only print 20 sheets off a year. Walmart would be much cheaper. Yeah, it's cheaper to go and print them out. If you have a regular inkjet, it's cheaper to print them out, absolutely, at a Walmart or a place like that. Or even you wait for, because they always have those moments when they say, hey, this week only, special on photo printing, and you go when it's on sale, and you print them when it's on sale. But even not on sale, it's less expensive to print them out at a Walmart or whatever photo place than on your own inkjet usually. But one of the things that it could make it better, so I that's why I'm looking at it. I'm actually looking at purchasing a Epson EcoThank printer. The Epson EcoThank are printers that have already have the printers are super expensive. Like the printers are like $500-$600. They're really super expensive. But the printer comes already with a 6,000 page ink. So it comes with so many pages, and the difference is that instead of buying cartridges, you buy the ink only, and you fill up the tank with the ink. And those become very inexpensive. The printer purchase is expensive, but the printing becomes super inexpensive with those EcoThank. But regular inkjet printers cost a fortune. When I used to be a tech guy and did my own business, I printed my own ads, and I would print a lot of them. Like I would print several thousand ads a month. I actually had started filling up my inkjet cartridges with cheaper ink because it was way too expensive if I'd have done it in any other way. Yeah, I know. It's Dave. There's like no websites are really done in a fashion of searching target area. Unfortunately, that unfortunately is true. You really don't have any. I don't recall of any website that has a list where it's like anything that is to North America, for example. Unfortunately. Randy Cook, I'm having questionable results from clip plug-in antennas, which is new to me. I'm used to roof-mounted antennas. And what kind of antennas are you using, actually, and referring to, Randy? WS7I 9420, Voice of Greece, coming into Virginia, strong. Yaramba, with my technical skills, have I ever done shortwave radio restoration? I've done a few old radio restorations from the past, but I've never really dabbled that much. I've never actually had a bench that was equipped well enough for radio restoration. It's mostly that. Oh, that's another solution. Ford Road Massive says online printing is cheap. If I plug my MLA30R dipole antenna in my Baofeng UV5R, should I put a 50 ohms resistance? Actually, it should already be... your dipole antenna should technically be with the coax at a roughly 50 ohms impedance by itself. Steve says, got one, it's amazing. Yeah, that's what I want to have. So it's the Epson EcoThank, they call them. So there's several models, depending on what you want to do, some with scanners and everything. The one I'm looking at with the scanner is like $500. They are really expensive at purchase, but the ink and the printing becomes super cheap. That is almost cheaper. When you use one of those printers, it's actually cheaper to print at home than going to print somewhere. Mi persona. But that also is a thing that you got to be careful. And like Moria 330 says, just because target area is not your target area, it doesn't mean you cannot receive a broadcast. It usually means you'll get a better signal from the broadcast. But remember that target area isn't everything. The direction, general direction towards where a signal is being sent out. If it's in your general vicinity, roughly, you might still get a FT signal. Just looked at African Pathways Radio as an example. They broadcast from Madagascar, but they broadcast to Africa. It's in the general direction of North America. Plus the frequency they choose makes an excellent signal in North America. MEA 707, any suggestions for shortwave listening in the Pacific Northwest? Not getting much, getting Radio Havana barely on 6060, using clip antenna that came with the PL880. You should be getting a few stations like WRMI. You should be getting Radio Havana a little stronger than that. Make sure you don't have too much noise. Maybe you have a lot of noise in your area, and that's maybe what's blocking you. But that said, in the Pacific, you will have a lot weaker signals than here in the East Coast from Europe. But you should be getting some stuff. Make sure that you don't have too much noise in your area. Maybe that is more of a problem than actually the signals themselves. Michael Mora, nice to have you here from Colorado Springs, Colorado. Yeah, but that's the thing. The Fort Road Massive, the EcoThink is actually the reverse. You are actually paying the price you should pay because you know why printers are cheap? Because printers are sold at a loss. When you buy that $50 printer, it actually costs more than that for the manufacturer to make it. The thing is, they know they'll get you back with the ink. That's why the ink is so expensive. The Epson EcoThink is reversed. The printer is super expensive. You're paying the price of the printer, and they're making money on selling you that printer. But in exchange for that, the ink, which is it's very cheap to make that type of ink, basically. They're selling you that ink at a very good price now. And that printer actually prints a lot. One full tank of ink, the full tank of ink is thousands of pages before it runs out. And when you buy the full ink, the ink to actually fill them up, it actually doesn't cost that much. Because even if you pay $100 or $120 for ink, if it prints 5,000 pages per page, it's actually very inexpensive. As Steve says, comes with 2 years of ink. So already, just purchasing it, you already have a lot of printing you're going to do. So for printing those EQSLs, for example, could be a good choice, actually. That's what I want. That's one of the printers I want. Randy Cook, I was using a roof mount Radio Shack multi-man antenna made for scanners, but I'm now limited to non-mountable clip plug-in antennas. Yeah, okay, you really can't have anything outdoors. Man, you're stuck in that, probably in that, like I was saying to MEA 707 in the Pacific Northwest. And because you cannot use an outdoor antenna, you're probably stuck with using clip-on antennas that pick up a lot of the noise around where you are. That's creating a big problem, and it's probably the major problem, actually, you're having. I suggest that you try to, if you could put a little piece of wire that would be outside the window or something would be better. But you might be in the unfortunate situation of having a lot of noise. Take care, Rifleman 336. Fort Road Massive says, cool. Looking at them now, do have a black and white laser HP, and I have same tone of cartridge 10 years later. Yeah, well, that's the thing of laser printers. Laser printers are a little bit like that. They actually have ink in their the toner usually has ink for quite a lot of pages. I have an old HP 1505 here, black and white, and I used it a lot for ads too, because it was I had purchased it to do a lot of black and white ads, and the thing is, I purchased probably 6 toners on eBay, actually refilled, and the thing is I've used 4. I think I still have 2. I still have 2 full toners unused, and those toners are probably 7 or 8 years old. So just be careful to have it to have the right one. Sometimes when they're listed at lower prices, they're not this. You got to be careful. There could be a loophole in there. Just be careful for the purchase. Michael Mora, I would say that for an apartment with no balcony, your best bet would be to try the MLA30 loop. $44 and close to a window, it would be the best bet. So here, guys, I have a my battery indicator on the D808 is now half, but it doesn't mean that the battery is half. It's just that it's lower, and I still will have out of this half indication probably 12 hours, easily 12 more hours of roughest new printers sold below cost should not be allowed. We recycle so many. Use it till the ink runs out, and new printer is cheaper than black cartridge. Unfortunately, that is true. It's a big waste. I don't remember how many people that I went to fix computers that had printers ran out of ink and said, it's going to cost me $120 of ink. It's going to cost me $50 for a new printer that has ink. So I'll throw away the printer and buy a new printer. And you're totally right. And that is absolutely something that should not happen. So you're totally right on that. For the recycle and the environment, it's a nightmare. Totally. I totally agree with that. Hey guys, you like what I do? You like the fact that I have 2 shows a week? Think about a little something? A little donation? You can send me a PayPal donation at the Yahoo email that you see here, or at paypal.me/shortwave. And that is... wait, I'm just gonna put MLA30 loop antenna. So I just wrote the the name of the antenna, the MLA30 loop antenna. It's available for about $40-50-ish US dollars. It's your best bet for an indoor antenna, I think. If you like what I do, think about a little donation. It costs me money to run this operation. Yes, I'm monetized by YouTube, but you got to change your computer sometimes, change the lighting systems. They sometimes break down. Sometimes buy stuff. I have a much more expensive internet connection than average to actually be able to do these live shows. And it helps me buy equipment like new microphones and try to ramp up and make it better all the time, because hey, you're worth it. Having better streams, better sound, and it also can be helpful in purchasing radios and stuff sometimes that I can review and tell everybody what I think about. So please, if you can spare a little something, it's something that is much appreciated. Patreon.com/radio and computers. you can also become a patron, and there you can, of course, set up for a monthly donation automatically. And I want to thank everybody that have donated. And if you have never donated and you like what I do, maybe think about it for maybe the first time. A little something. And any amount helps, by the way. Any amount helps. It doesn't matter how much. It's just, it helps out in the general operations of things. And I am here, twice a week. I'm here on Wednesday, on Friday. Hey, you guys like that 6-hour show last Friday? Now, that was a show. 6 hours. Pretty amazing when you think about it. And thanks, everybody, for your help and your donations. They do help a lot. Remember, we have a Facebook group. And if you like what I do, well, you know what? You can actually continue on the Facebook group. You can continue interacting with the same people you see here that you love. They are, on that group. A lot of them are on that group. They share all sorts of radio stuff together. And you can post, the radios you use, anything you're listening to, ask questions. It's a fine group, an amazing group. Remember, if you want to join, you have to answer the radio questions. It's very important. And abide by the rules of being a good Facebook group citizen. Here, I've just posted the link to the Facebook group. Here, you can actually join the group and continue. It's really, really, a lot of fun to be there, and it's really an extension. For this live show, basically, with other great people. Okay, Michael Morris has put he put a slinky antenna on the wall and works well on YouTube. It's cool and really nice to have that. If there's not a lot of interference where you live, of course, the first thing you always want is to start out with the wire antenna and see how it performs. Also, David Martin says I can pick up some airband, NOAA weather, and strong 2-meter stations on the MLA30, but that's not the sweet spot for frequency coverage. Yeah, same here. I actually was looking at the NOAA weather station, or the Environment Canada weather station here. And I actually received it well on the MLA30, which I was very surprised to have such a strong signal. It's obviously not as sensitive as my VHF antenna, because when I compare the signals of the different VHF signals that I see and am used to hearing, but, it works. M. Phillips, cool. Just an ad for the group. Cool. And nice to have you here. Randall Klantz, how about taping a long piece of wire to the ceiling? I've done that so many times. I did that so many times that when it's a low noise environment, it's, don't forget, Bobby, to give him time, because sometimes when the pop-up of somebody arriving in the group gets there, it could take 5 to 10 minutes. I've seen sometimes take up to 15 minutes for the questions and answers. Always leave them there for at least half an hour before you actually reject the application, because sometimes it takes a little while before the questions are answered. And okay. I also, one of the things, by the way, for the moderators on the Facebook group, I do a mix of things. For of course, there are some that I approve because I know the name that I've seen regularly here. I also look at how long they've been on Facebook, what other groups they are on. Sometimes when I see they're on other radio groups. You know, gives a hint that okay, they're radio fans. So there's all sorts of little things like that, and often I leave them there for at least. So you know, I'll see someone and wait for at least half an hour to make sure that they answer the questions and everything, because it's obvious that it's not always immediate. Most of the time, immediately there's nothing really happening actually. So just make sure that you give them time to answer the questions. We're at 288 members right now, so it'd be fun to be at 300 by the weekend, though. It would really, really, really fun. So, that's a good question, Bobby. Because we got to be careful not to go too fast. We don't want to over-moderate, that's for sure. I'll check that out when I have a little bit of time later on. I guess they must be, if I look here, official channel. Let's check it out here. So, members. Let's see, 28 members. So joined. More. Invite members. I don't really see very I don't see really any. Okay, here blocked. Yes, I do see the blocked people here. So, for example, so here I see the number of people that are blocked. Let me just check it out here. Yeah, I can remove block. Just want to make sure that so for example here I unblocked, remove blocked from Todd Need because I know that he's a viewer. So what does it do when I remove block, just out of curiosity? Does it put them back into the invite zone? I don't. Yeah, 2 people want to join. Let me just check it out here. Okay, so right now, yeah, we're just gonna wait for the questions to be answered, and I'll check it out. Yes, I can unblock. So there were 5 blocked. Always take time because you never know. It's not always easy. Dr. Sisop, nice to have you here. 93.95 here is super strong and very clear. Oh yeah, the real Dr. Sisop, the real trolls actually recreate other accounts and recreate accounts and come back with other names. Totally. So that's for sure. So, Jen Sonnenschein. So you see, I see here that some of the people that were blocked. Unblock Mr. Phillips, please. Okay, let me just go back here. So take it easy on the block, on the block thing, because a lot of people can be blocked and they might not have to. Or it should not be, you know. It takes time. I've noticed it takes time for the questions to be answered. So here I will go back here. We will be at blocked. Mr. Phillips. Where's Mr. Phillips here? Da 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 da. So here I've got a Daisy Lucas, a John Stephenson, a Henry Cotterill, John Mansfield. I got a John Michael McFarland and a Ronald E. James. Can anybody raise their hand in the chat room, please? Glenn Zeckman, nice to have you on board the channel. What is this channel about? Shortwave radio and radio in general, listening to the world on radio. Vince, I had to create a new YouTube account just to watch you. The 4th week I was a member because I got ghost shadowed for some reason. So I was not able to chat anymore. I was so mad at YouTube. Weird. That is weird. So let's check it out here. Check it out here. Oh, man. So, Mr. Phillips. Mr. Phillips with a grinding G3, you are approved. Matt Phillips. Nabil Ahmad Sadi, approved with radio questions. We are waiting for answers for radio. So here is, I will approve Ricky Tarrington because he's a member of a lot of radio groups. And we do have here somebody from Angela Manetti. That will wait a little bit more. Hey there, Alan Lafferty. Nice to have you here. So we're getting there. Hopefully we'll be in the 300 zone by the weekend, which will be nice. Don't forget you can post your your radio, anything you listen to the radio, anything that is that you're listening to, and your pictures of your radios, and we just have a lot of fun. It's really an extension to this, continuing to talk about radio in general. Cool, Mr. Phillips. You are in. Randy Cook, what's the best book for DXing for shortwave listening? You know what? Honestly, the best is all the things that are on the internet. There's so many websites that deal with this. The YouTube channels like here. One that could be of interest and not very expensive in electronic publication is the Shortwave book on eBay. What's the name of that book? I'm trying to remember the reference. Darn. Are you an engineer or electronics tech? I used to be a computer tech with my own business, and now it's just YouTube stuff and radio stuff. If aliens come down, can we have a special live show? Absolutely. If aliens actually arrive on this planet, I am doing a 24-hour show talking about shortwave radio and aliens. So there's let me check it out on my tablet. I will check it out if I can somehow pick up my tablet. Oh, there's some digital signal on 93.95. So I'm just gonna tell you 2 seconds. There's a nice electronic publication that's not very expensive, and I'm just trying to remember what the name is. And it contains all the information for newbies, including, let me just check it out here. Kindle. I just check the Kindle app. So the electronic book, it's really inexpensive, and it's called, if I can remember, I'll tell you guys that in a few seconds. I forgot the name. It's by Gail Van Horn, and it's the International Shortwave Broadcast Guide. And usually every season there's a new version of it. And there's also the Global Radio Guide 2019, the Gail Van Horn, and they are a nice, very complete explanation of what shortwave is all about. But it's an electronic publication only, and it's not very expensive. It was like $7 or $8 or something. Unfortunately, there's not that many books that talk about it. Honestly, for sure. Yeah, Ramba, what's my longest Wednesday stream so far? I did I do a 4-hour Wednesday once? I think I did a 4-hour Wednesday once, which was the I think the longest I did on a Wednesday. Dr. Sisop, there's a new V115 called the Reticus TR102. Interesting. WF7I Homebrew says strong carrier on 12120. No audio. Let me just check out if I hear anything here. Indeed, there's a carrier. I could see it here. Yeah, Randy, pretty much all the information is here, and it's very complete. What you can get in the videos and online. There's a lot of stuff online. What else do we have? People joining the group. Anybody else? So Peter Gonciars approved. Angela is not answering any questions. Angela Monetti, you got to answer questions about a radio. It's very important. And it's nice to have everybody on board in the group. Really nice. We've just reached 292 members. I guess we'll be at 300 by the weekend, which will be nice. And of course, I also participate a lot in the group, by the way. It could be anything of the dawn. It could be all sorts of things. It could be a broadcaster that is having a problem, audio problem. It's actually on 12120.4, so it's off frequency a little bit. It could be some signal that will have a digital signal in it, anything. There's so many things on shortwave that are mysterious and we don't really know. Thanks, Handy Coley. I thought I'd done a 4-hour once. Dan V, nice to have you here. N8WJZ from Ohio. 6944 is Link. Yeah, that's called Link 11. It's a NATO digital link. It's there's a lot of places around the shortwave bands where you'll hear this. It's really a digital link. It's an encrypted digital link between NATO members. What else do we have? I think you need to tell the viewers how to donate, because I would if I could. So, well, I'll say it once again. You can go on PayPal, either by going to the address here, paypal.me/shortwave, or you go to your PayPal account and you say that you want to send money to someone, and you just say that you want to send it to the email that you see here. And there you will be able to send me some money through PayPal. If you don't use electronic or do electronic stuff, you can send me actually a email at officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com and ask me how you could send me something via snail mail, which is usually an international postal money order, where I can exchange it at the local post office here in whatever currency you want. And of course, you can also join Patreon. You can become a patron at patreon.com/radio and computers for the donations. And that's where it all happens. And I want to thank everybody that have donated and everybody that will donate. It's always a big, really big pleasure. So a lot of people here that want to, I see that are asking to join in the Facebook group. So kind of cool. Kind of cool. We're having, we're going to have a lot of members and have a lot of fun with this. And, you know, like the Facebook group, well, there some noise outside. They're actually in the street putting some salt to make sure that the cars don't slide off, because it's going to be really cold tonight. It's going to be like -15 here. So the Facebook group is cool for that. It's really an extension. When this show ends, well, it's still a place where all of you guys can continue talking about radio and have fun. And this is kind of cool, actually. Okay, what else do we have here? How much snow in Canada? I personally have here almost nothing. We have had some really warm weather in the past couple of days, so all the snow is melted. The only whitish ground that we have here in Montreal is because this afternoon around 5 there was a snow squall. And for about 15-20 minutes, I couldn't see the other side of the street. So maybe 1 inch of snow on the ground maximum. We are far from having a white Christmas if things continue as they are. But you know, here things change at an amazing pace. Here, what happens is we can, you know, have a big snowstorm and we're gonna have a foot of snow, and it's like that. But right now there's like almost no snow on the ground. Thank you, Fort Road Massive. Nice to have you here. Hey, R. Walker. Nice to have you on board, my friend. So let me check out here what's happening there. David Martin says, I see 28 LSB voice conversations on 80 meters using MLA30 and RSP1A. The preamp in the MLA30 outside box is magic. Unplug the USB power to the MLA30. Number of readable conversation drops to 0. Oh yeah, it's totally the same here. Both W6LVP and MLA30. Remove the power of the amplifier and forget it. There's almost no signals. It's crazy. Rufus Newt says cold here too, but no snow. Cold but no snow. Tony Turtle, on QSL card there is tanks, please. So if you send tanks, you might not get one. If you write, please, then they know you want a confirmation. Well, always be very polite when you ask for a QSL card, honestly. Because, I mean, they don't owe you anything. They really don't owe you anything. And that's the first thing you got to remember. These people do this mostly by because they want to, you know, they want to be nice, and it's a way for them to kind of reward you at the same time, but they don't have to. They, and the QSL cards, they started QSL cards a long time ago because they were actually, they needed to know who was out there and what the signal level was. It was important to them in, early days to know how strong signals were, where they were. But today, less and less this is important to stations, but they kept up the tradition because they know that it helps, get some people writing in and let them know that they are listening in. They know a little more about their audience and they know people are listening, but always be very polite. And, don't go writing a station saying, hey, I did not receive my QSL cards. You're all a bunch of whatever. Because you know what? It just doesn't work like that, Always think about the fact that they don't owe you anything at the start. Randy Cook bought a Kato KA600 for my daughter. She loves me not so much. What do you think of it? What's the KA600? Let me just check it out here. I was going to check it out here. Kato KA600. I think I know what model it is, but I'll just confirm. Yeah, okay, I've seen that. Yeah. I don't have much experience with them. I actually never really used one. These all-in-one solar dynamo whatever AM, FM, shortwave and everything radios, a lot of them unfortunately are, it's really cool looking, but unfortunately a lot of them are crappy performers. And that's the sad part of it, of these receivers. Dima YT, nice to have you here. Yeah, of course, Fort Road massive QSL cards were amazing and amazingly fun also at the time. Dr. Sisop got some signals on low 26 megahertz earlier today. Yeah, yesterday the 10 meter band was open. I was listening to hams on 28400, calling CQ. Prasad TR102 is V115 in new box. So it's the same radio. It's just that they changed the model number. Oh, okay. Interesting. What else do we have? Metalmon 88, been a ham for 2 years, have my general, and have yet to receive or send QSL card, only digital. A lot of people don't, honestly, a lot of people don't. A lot of hams actually tell you on their page, you know what? I don't do QSLs. Don't bug me with that. I've got a weak signal 4055, but there's a good chance it's Radio Verdad that you are actually listening to WF7i Homebrew. So, we are old school, absolutely. Fort Road Massive, totally. So, hey guys, I'm going to wrap it up for tonight. We've been on for 3 hours, 3 minutes, which is a decent time. I'm probably going to take it easy and do a little more radio listening for the rest of the evening. I've got a few things. I got some big meeting tomorrow, so I also need to be in top shape for tomorrow's meeting. We will be at back on Friday, so I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks everybody that has joined the Shortwave group, and it's really cool to have everybody here. 292 people as of now. So hope that you enjoy and hope that you continue and go and post and have fun on the Facebook group. And it's always pretty cool to have everybody here. And of course, I participate in the group also, and we have a lot of fun. So take care, Rampton. Nice to have you here. Joe Brown, nice to have you here. And take care, my friends. Hope you enjoyed today's show. We had some really nice and interesting questions. A lot of newbie stuff also for those that wonder what we are all doing around. No, I don't think I'll be doing 6 hours today, and possibly not on Friday. So we'll be back Friday at 20 UTC, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. And no problem. And of course, take care, my friends. Thanks to those who have donated. No worries, those that can't. It's not, something you have to. Stay safe. Love you all. And take care. It's always a big pleasure to be here and do these live shows. Hope you enjoy. Bye, my friends.